Welcome to Porsche Patter with Bracken Helms, the show where we hear Bracken and his distinguished guests from the Porsche community patter on about Porsches and all things automotive. Porsche Patter is sponsored by Circuit 64. Circuit 64 creates authentic automotive apparel made for like-minded automotive enthusiasts. The links for Circuit 64 are in the show notes. Okay, let's get to it.
Larry Moulton, Part 1. Larry Moulton is a 50-year plus authorized Porsche mechanic at an authorized Porsche dealership, so he has been around the block. When he retired a couple years ago, the Porsche family came out and gave him all these congratulations and awards, and he was in their press. He was also in Motor Trend, had an article on him. Panorama had an article on him. Excellence had an article on him. Those are just the ones that came in the mail that I noticed. Okay, now it's time for some honesty and transparency. So, I went up to his house, set up all the mics, set up the mixer, set up the cords, got the headphones all done. Everything's dialed in. We're all ready to go. I even made him put on the headphones so he could hear himself, so he wouldn't be backing away from the mic, and I'd have to coach him into, okay, well, you can't be back here, and then moving over here, and then, so I do the interview. It's like 2 hours. I look down to stop it. I had never pressed record. Talk about anxiety, and I was like having heat flashes. I've known him forever, so it wasn't, if it would have been some guy that I've never met and they gave me their time, I can only imagine it would have been that much worse. Because I was on vacation in Utah, and he said, you can come back in a couple days, or you can come back tomorrow, or we can arrange something to do. And then I said, well, possibly we could even do it over on Zoom or something. But the only thing I had was my cell phone. So I tried to clean it up best I could. I was talking to a lot of people. I've been going back and forth on this forever. Or should I use this or should I not? And I've asked 10 people, okay, what is your opinion? And I finally came to the conclusion that I would rather it be organic than the audio be perfect, but he's just regurgitating everything we've already talked about. So I decided to go for the organic. If you're one of these that the audio is more important than the spontaneousness of it, then maybe this one's not for you. So I'm telling you now that the audio is not awesome. But here we go. Part 1, Larry Moulton. Who is Larry Moulton?
That's a good question. I graduated from high school in 1962, and in 1962 I got a job at the Volkswagen Porsche dealership. Actually, the Porsches and Volkswagens were a hobby because I was involved with sports cars and autocrossing, and just kind of blossomed from there. When I got out of high school, I had an offer to go to Ford. They had a job for me, and I said, I think I'll do Volkswagen instead. So that's how I ended up with VW Porsche. I think I was pretty enamored with the Porsches and Volkswagens because they were the new thing. I had all these stories I'd heard about how fantastic Porsches were, how fast they were. One fella told me his 356 they'd do 100 and then it shipped into fourth. And oh really? Which I found later on was a little exaggerated. So that's kind of how I got started in it.
Yeah.
And then all I've ever done is I worked at the dealership for 52 years. I think I worked at another Volkswagen dealer for a year. And we just did sports cars and motorcycles in the desert, autocrossing, and kind of evolved. We had a big sports car club here, and we had a track out south. We had a lot of exotics here. We had RSKs, we had 904s, we had guys with Ferraris, Maseratis. For being Salt Lake at those years, we had a lot of exotic cars. I had a huge group, and it just evolved and got bigger and bigger. We moved to another track that was actually a drag strip, and raced there for a while. And everybody that was in autocrossing slowly moved into road racing. Because in those days, there was no rules in autocrossing. It was 2.5 liter and under. And you could do anything you wanted. Pretty well, you ended up ruining your street car might as well go racing. So that's what happened.
Yeah.
It just kind of evolved from there.
Yeah.
And then several of us in town just kept on. And we moved up, started running SCCA Regionals and Nationals and with different cars. I had a friend that had a Corvette, a Cheetah, Spitfires, just a whole gamut. So it was pretty fun. We had a good time.
So I would say my next question was, what attracted you to Porsche?
This 356 story, when you work for Volkswagen, I worked in the lube rack and then working downstairs on Beetles. And a good friend of mine was from Germany. He was their only Porsche mechanic. And he was working on maybe three cars a week. And I think it was 1966, we seen the first 911 that a pilot brought over from Germany. I was so into that car and the 356s that it took me off the Volkswagen line and had me work with this fellow. His name was Gunther Ehring. And the two of us did all the cars in town. And prior to them, I think it was Strong's had got the Porsche dealership, I think in 1959, right around in there. So Gunther was like the second guy that worked for them. He was there quite a while, but he was really a craftsman. He was fairly young, German master mechanic, and it was kind of fun to work with him. That's how I kind of ended up going for Volkswagen with the Porsches.
Okay, so when you were with Volkswagen, you were just working with that Gunther guy?
Yeah, it was all one thing. The Porsche dealer was one stall in the whole Volkswagen shop. So we'd have like...
So did that place become Dave Strong's, or you went to Dave Strong's?
It was Dave Strong.
Okay.
Dave Strong originally got the Volkswagen dealer. I think he did that in like 1957 or 56. And then he got the Porsche dealer, I think, pretty sure that was probably 56, 7 or 8. And they just integrated it into the Volkswagen dealer. They had one work stall in the whole Volkswagen shop that the Porsches went to.
Okay.
That's how they were.
How long did you work on Porsches?
I think it was about 52 years.
Okay, how did the working on cars, how did it change or evolve?
Well, it's really evolved. I mean, we went from the days of doing a valve adjustment and an oil change every 3,000 miles and had points and carburetors. Very simple. You look back on it, it was just totally simple. As the years went by, it got just more and more computers, electronics. And it really, after, I'd say about 78, was when it really started. We started getting a little more stuff. We got SCs and then the Carreras. Then we got the 964s. And the 993 was really sophisticated. It had hydraulic lifters, no valve adjustments, no timing, no fuel settings. And they took all that work out of the car.
So that was probably a pretty big step from the 964 to the 993.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. The 964 did quite a bit. Then after that, it just went crazy. It's not right now. Everything is computerized. And, you got active suspensions. You got, all the ABS, everything that goes with it. But as you move through the years, that's you just worked on it because that was the next product we got. And we were required to go into like 2 classes a year. And generally we went to California and trained on the new product. And then later years, we also went to Atlanta. That's the headquarters. So we had a lot of training. So everything that came out new, like the 914s. I was there when the first 914 came off the truck, the 924s. The 944, that was a big seller. We had a lot of those. And I don't know where they went. You hardly ever see one.
Yeah.
Same with the 928. The 928.
Yeah, you never see 928s.
No.
I don't, even at like the biggest shows, I don't see 928s.
No, we had a lot of 928s. And that started, I think, 78, or 78 or 79. 78, I think. And we sold a lot of them. I don't know where they went. I see maybe one every 6 months. Same with the 944s. There's a few around, which is pretty rare.
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of 944s, but I see way more 944s than I do 928s.
Yeah.
Any regrets you've had in your career?
No, not really. Strong's was a family-owned. I worked for LH. He was the original LH Strong. And he retired probably 5 or 6 years after I started. And then Dave Strong, his son, took over. And Dave he lives in San Diego now. But he was a really nice guy, family-owned. They took really good care of us. And I did well there, made good money, and no problems. So it was a good, kind of, a good thing to do. And if you want to work on that kind of car, you either had to do it here or go to Denver or somewhere. Quite frankly, I was more interested in all my hobbies that were connected to the job, so I didn't want to leave.
Yeah. What did you like about working on Porsches?
Well, in the first place, they were just unique. And everybody you said, I work on Porsches. Oh, wow, you work on Porsches. You ever get to drive them? Oh, yeah. And it was just a unique thing to work on. Like I tell people now that they want to get into the auto industry, pick out something that's different. Work on Mercedes, Porsche, BMW. You get more valuable if you're really good at that type of car.
Yeah.
So most of the people I know that do really well are working on some high-end cars.
What was the worst thing about working on Porsches?
Like any job in the automotive industry, it gets pretty hectic. They have you on piecework. And so you get to the point that everybody wants to hurry. They want to go faster and faster. And I always felt it was much better if you were like on an hourly rate where you slowed down and took your time. I did really well with it because I'd been around it so long. But I guess that was one thing. Although I made good money, and looking back, I shouldn't complain about it. That's one thing wrong with the whole auto industry. It's all piecework. Every time you go somewhere, the guys are on commission. The faster they go, the more cars they can get done, the more money they make. And it makes it difficult.
What car did you get introduced to Porsche with?
My first was a 58 Speedster.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was really a nice car. It had Drudge wheels on it. It was really rare, and it was just perfect. Of course, that was 69, 68. It had a Super 90 engine in it. I rebuilt that and autocrossed it. It was just a great car.
Yeah.
And I think I bought it for $3,200 and sold it for about $29,000 or $3,000.
Oh, so you owned it?
Yeah, I owned it.
Oh, okay.
That was my first one.
What was the first Porsche you got, had to work on, or the first one that you kind of introduced to Porsche with?
The one that I remember the most, the first one I worked on the most, was Gunther had I think it was a 58 coupe, a Super, and a clutch vibrator. And so he had me take that engine in and out, I think 7 or 8 times, while he tried different things. We finally fixed it, but I got a lot of practice, so yeah. I remember that one. That was one of my first experiences.
So how excited were you when you got your first Porsche, which was a Speedster?
Well, that was cool. I mean, Porsches were neat. Everybody had Triumphs and Spitfires, those kind of cars.
Yeah.
Porsche Speedster was pretty cool.
Yeah. What cars did you like working on the best?
That's hard to decide. I worked on so many of them. Probably, I like the Carreras in 84, 85, 86, along there. They were just rock solid, simple. And I think they were probably one of the most reliable Porsches ever built to buy one and enjoy it and drive. It didn't have the fancy air conditioning in it and everything, but it did everything well. It never broke. No oil leaks. It was just a great car. And I'd still like to have one of those.
We're going to get into that a little bit more. Cool cars that you've worked on that stand out in your mind?
Well, I worked on a couple of Ford Cameras in the old days. I had one Cabriolet and one coupe. And a friend of mine had a 904. He was a banker here in town. And I didn't do any hard stuff to it, an oil change and adjust the carburetors and stuff. And then one guy brought me in a Lamborghini Miura because the carburetors on it were the same as on a Porsche.
Oh, really?
So I adjusted those. And it was just cars like that. And then I remember our first turbo, when we got the first turbo in 76, that was like the second coming. When that thing showed up, it was just nobody could touch it. You had to have ropes around it. It was unbelievably crazy to look at.
Yeah, that's one of my questions I had later, but
Yeah.
Did you work on Robert Redford's car?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I read that somewhere. My dad's like, I don't think so. And I'm
No.
like, well, I read it.
Well, I knew him because I worked on his wife's car.
Oh, okay.
She had a 964,
Oh, okay.
and then he had a 904.
Right.
But we never actually had the 904 in the shop. And I don't know who worked on it. Maybe Dan O'Connor.
What cool cars have you owned?
Well, let's see. I had the Speedster,
Right.
and then I raced a 60 Roadster, reproduction Roadster. And I've had some British cars and different things. Probably the nicest 911 I've ever had after the Speedster. I had a 67S soft window Targa. That was really a nice car. I rebuilt the motor in it. And we did some custom wheels. I violated it a lot. We did little fender flares, custom wheels, chromed all the tin on the motor, which all the purists were just losing their mind. But that was probably one of the nicest ones I had. Then I had a lot of cars over the years. Because back in those days, through the 70s and the 60s, if someone blew their engine up or something happened, then just you could buy the car for $3,000. And then I'd fix it and sell it. And that's, going for that kind of market back then.
When you said the Roadster, Porsche Roadster?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one that came before the Speedster?
No, that was after.
Okay.
In 59, they did a Speedster with roll-up windows. They call it convertible D.
Okay.
Had a higher windshield and roll-up windows. And then the next year, they went to what they called the B model, because the Speedster and the other ones were called A models, 356A. And then in 1960, they went to 256B, and this was a Roadster B model.
Okay. Favorite car you've owned?
It was probably my Turner race car.
Okay.
It's a British car called a Turner Ford. I raced it for like 15 years in SCCA. And it was the most successful car I ever had. I just kept it forever, for 15 years after I quit racing it. And this guy finally talked me out of it to vintage race it, and it lasted 2 years and we totaled it at Sears Point. So I guess that was, looking back, that was the car that I was most attached to at the time.
Any of you regret selling?
Oh, a lot. If I'd had the Speedster back, my first one, the 58, that car was really valuable. Like the story with that car, I don't know how truthful it is. I don't know if you ever heard of Bob Plum. Your dad knew him well.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, he body shot me. He's way into Porsche. Anyway, when I sold my Speedster, I sold it to this fellow. He already drove it. Bob Plum ended up with it.
So is Jack Plum his son?
Or Jack Plum, excuse me. It's Jack Plum.
Okay.
Not Bob, Jack.
Okay.
Anyway, the story goes, Jack got it, refurbished it, and then kept it for a while. And he ended up selling it to somebody in California. But in the meantime, it was on the inside cover of Christophorus, the whole picture of that car.
Oh, cool.
And Jack told me that it ended up at the museum in the factory. And whether that's true, I don't know.
Any of you regret not buying?
Not really, I would think of.
Okay. If you could have any car today, what would it be?
Street car?
I guess we can split it up and do both.
I think street car. Well, if I could just pick one, just to drive, I'd probably get a GT3 RS.
What year?
Brand new.
Okay. What is the next fun car you can see yourself buying?
I've got my Mini Cooper, and I've got a 32 Ford Hot Rod in the basement. I don't know what I'll buy next. I have a good friend of mine that's got an 84 Carrera that's really nice. And if that ever comes up, I might buy it for him.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, comment, like, and share with your friends. Feel free to send questions or suggestions to the email in the description of the show. Special thanks to our sponsor, Circuit 64. Goodbye for now. We hope we can get together again for our next episode. Now get out there and enjoy the cars and the people.